Okay. Welcome to an impromptu Friday stream. It's been really kind of a quiet week out in the music industry, the tech industry. And a lot of that is because we have these big sales coming, which benefit hopefully the entire world. But we have this thing called Black Friday here in America where things go on sale and we find out what products are actually worth to the companies that make them. And so that's coming up next week. Almost all of the blogs and Facebook and all that. It's just a series of posts about the great pricing you can buy with things and buy things with money this next week. And matter of fact, it used to be when I was a kid, Black Friday was just one day, and you would just have to go to the stores at right before midnight the day before on Thursday, stand in these long lines, and everybody would get in fist fights about the deals. And so there we have it. So that's really the big push right now is people they tried to get all their products out right before this. We saw updates from Reason. We saw updates, small ones like from Studio One and Cubase just came out with a big one, and Luna came out with a big one. And so we're wondering right this moment where the Logic Pro one is. But Apple cares about Black Friday, but for very different reasons. Michael, tell us what is the Creator Studio? Tell me about that a little bit. Um, what is it you're talking about? I'm pulling it up. Creator Studio. That cannot be what you're talking about. I have not heard about what you're talking about, but tell me and I'll pull it up and we can talk about it. Apple Insider. Okay, I'll go there. Let me go to there. We got some stuff coming through the comments, which I love. Oh, I actually have heard about this. No, I know what you're talking about. It's rumored, and I doubt it's going to be called Creator Studio because in the websites there are people who already have that title, that name. But I have heard about this. Let me pull it up and I can give you more information. So the rumor about a new not partnership, a new pairing of a bunch of Apple products. We have the new the graphic design program, and they have already all the rest of those things in place: Final Cut and Motion and Compressor and Logic and Main Stage. And then they're talking about bringing some more of that to the iPad version, including there was rumors recently about Main Stage, full version of Main Stage coming to iPad, which we haven't seen yet. I wonder where that just went. Apple. Okay, hold on. I'm still trying to pull this up. And so somebody else saw this referenced somewhere. Here we go. I think I can just pull this onto the stream. I don't think there's any problems with that. Apple Creator Studio referenced in iOS 26.2 Beta 1, but the meaning is unclear. So this is one of the big rumors. I've kind of not put a lot of stock in this yet because we don't know anything about it. Like there's no hard rumor about this yet. But they could be gearing up to release something called Apple Creator Studio. Undoubtedly a subscription. Anything new is a subscription from Apple right this moment. And this came out November 4th. So we're looking at a couple weeks ago at this point. But a lot of this has to do with the Pixelmator Pro. It could be just a rename of that. It could be something else. We just don't know yet. Um, but it definitely tied in. I'm going to close this down now. It definitely tied into some of the other rumors about the iPad stuff. Pixelmator Pro getting a full iPad app. They had like an iPad version. That's a piece of software that Apple confiscated from some other company. Um, and then the main stage tie-in was a rumor as well. I mean, main stage itself, if we were to look at the main stage release notes, or I'll maybe just pull it up in here actually. I have it installed right now. Main stage, here we go. So the version history, they've done 2 little updates. Well, one of them was a little bigger to match Logic when they got the QRS, Chroma Glow, plugin search, the mixer. So that was just matching Logic 9 months ago. And then a year ago, they got something. And 2 years ago, they got 3 little updates. And 3 years ago, they got some. I mean, it's not like one of the heaviest updated pieces of software. Which is actually nice because most of the people who use this, if there were big changes to it, they wouldn't know how to use it anymore. This is one of those pieces of software that makes a lot of sense to keep it stable for a long period of time because then it becomes really useful on a stage and not buggy every time they add a bunch of stuff to it. So that's one rumor that I'm not putting a lot of stock into the Creator Studio thing until we start seeing the websites that are currently attached to it maybe getting pulled down, and the companies that are using it for their products, changing their name or shutting down or something. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. So we already went off on a side exploration for the moment. We are right in that key window when we could be getting a Logic update in the next little bit of time. And I say that because since they went to 11, they've been trying up until now to do the every 6 months for a point update. So we got 11 in May of 2024. November, we got 11.1. May of 2025, we got 11.2. We got a couple small things in between each of those, just doing, the big bug updates that needed attention sooner, but no new features really in between. And so that takes us right now till November of 2025. We are 6 months away from the last one, which was 6 months away from the last one, which was 6 months away from the last one. So it stands to reason that perhaps we could be getting an update. Now, it's a little tricky right this moment because we're past most of November. And the last week of November is not traditionally a place when Apple releases new software. You never know. It's a worldwide company. Not everybody, has the week off or even a half of a week off like we do in the U.S. next week for our, turkey holiday, where we celebrate food and gratefulness. And my kids get the entire week off of school, which I'd be okay if they went back to, just giving off Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, or even just giving off Thursday. Send those kids to school Monday through Wednesday and then back to school on Friday. I'd be okay with that, but I guess everybody else who works wouldn't want that necessarily. Placidon says they're making socks. Anything could happen. That is so true. They came out with another one of those type of products this morning, a mag phone holder that looks interesting. Cool. Although it's like 70 or 75 bucks or something. It's like pretty expensive. The sock, that's like it's like 100 and I can't remember, 130, $140. Cool. But we are in that cycle right this moment where every other workstation, all of the major ones, from Cubase to Pro Tools to Ableton to Studio One to FL Studio. Um, we can't even talk about Reaper. Reaper gets updates all the time. But all the other big players have gotten their major updates for this part of the year, and Logic is the one that hasn't. Woohoo! And that's okay. We don't need updates all the time. I think Logic right this moment, except for the major list of things that we all talk about, right? ARA is one of them. And we're probably not getting an ARA update this week. Although, so I saw somebody on Facebook in one of the Logic groups who is a known beta tester. I can't tell you who. I can't tell you how I know. Not that I'm trying to be cagey, but I've seen the non-disclosure agreement that everybody signs who's on the beta team for Logic. But I know for a fact that this person is one, and somebody asked about ARA, and they said it is coming, but not likely anytime soon. And so they could be just throwing people off the scent. Maybe they're trying to get them excited for something in the future. Maybe they're just, making sure that no one thinks they're spilling the beans, and so they're lying about it. And maybe ARA is coming really quickly. But my guess is that they don't know. Who knows that they're a beta tester, and they're just like letting a little piece of crumb out of the box. So they said it's coming, likely coming eventually, but not anytime soon. I kind of feel that same way about it. I feel like ARA is it's a big deal. It's not a small deal getting that to work. If it was a small deal, if it was easy, they would have done it already. And I suspect at the time, there was a time with Logic when, it was kind of working. Then they were going up to the Universal for the silicon chips. And they looked around and said, who's using ARA really? And it was post-production stuff with vocal line, although some music producers use that when they're doing like certain types of productions with, stacks and stacks of singers. Melodyne and Apple feels like they've got to feel like that their flex pitch and flex time is a pretty good replacement. And then there were a couple of other, people using it. Well, since that time, we've actually added a number of really cool products that use ARA. And so the pressure is mounting, right, to add it in and make it work again. And hopefully they're feeling that pressure a little bit. And at the same time, Apple released the Logic for iPad version, which by all accounts has to be the future of Logic. I mean, there are some really cool things about it. Not everything's perfect on it, but there's a lot of really cool things about it. And it was designed from the ground up to work on iPad, which means it can work on any of the Mac operating systems now too that are silicon based. And so do they say like, well, let's get that transition done first. Let's move the iPad version of Logic onto the Mac version of Logic, get rid of the old Logic that's been around since, Atari. And some of that code in there it's got to still be in there. I've looked at some of the guts of Logic, and there's some pretty old, nasty stuff inside there. And so, yes, I don't care what anybody says. It'll be a painful transition. However, in the long run, it'll be an amazing transition to have a piece of software that has almost all of the features we need and want written freshly for the platform we're running it on. I mean, that's a dream. That would be amazing. And so that transition is more important to me than ARA. And I will continue to use the ARA plugins in alternate ways until that happens. But, we're looking at, one more operating system away from not even being able to use Rosetta mode and run the old version of software. We're going to be stuck with the new version. And so it's like I haven't gone into Rosetta mode in over a year probably. I might have gone in once just to see if I can get an ARA plugin to work, and I couldn't. But how many of you, anybody still using Rosetta mode? Put it in the chat. I'm curious to see how many of you are using Rosetta at any time with Logic Pro or any other app. It doesn't. Maybe you're not even a Logic user and you're just here for the popcorn. I'd be curious. Plastidon, I see that you were using Logic. That's awesome. Whenever you open it up and use it, it's a moment we need to celebrate, because I know sometimes that's like the trick for all of us, right? I could sit down like I do right now, Friday afternoon. It's about to be the weekend, and it is one of those times when I'm like, I could just sit down and work on a song, and then I'm like, you know what? Let's go see which of my friends are online and want to stream and talk. Let's talk about Logic and complain about the update schedule and the lack of transparency from Apple and their unwillingness to even share things. So that way, when we get an update, unsuspecting update, that we can all be super, super happy about it, right? I was feeling really grateful for Logic this week because as I go back and look at the recent updates, I realize how much we've actually gotten. It's like the session players, awesome. Sure, I want a better chord track that interacts with me in a more natural way, but it doesn't. The foundation is there. The piano player, session players is decent. The bass player is awesome. I've always loved the drummer, even though I want more styles. But it's like they've started down this path of these really cool instruments, and I hope they do more with them, because they're like one of my favorite parts. Better chord track, please. That's all I want. But it, like the stem splitter, I was looking at what Cubase just got for a stem splitter, and it's like years behind Logic at this point. And Logic is maybe not ahead of any of those niche stem splitters online. There are services that do it, but I got a stem splitter inside Logic that does a great job without having to be attached to the internet to do it. I don't have to upload my music into somebody else's system to have them do it. And of course, they're going to probably scrape whatever you upload and use it like they can sell data. Apple is doing things in a way that resonates better with me, and the stem splitter in Logic is actually darn good. I used it this week on one of my songwriting album project streams, where I'd recorded myself just doing a rough on a piano with me singing, like one microphone essentially. And it pulled out everything, and the piano didn't have any weird artifacts. It sounded great. Considering what it sounded like the recording of the piano. It didn't make it sound better, but it didn't destroy it when splitting it. And the new Cubase one, it's back to just like the couple stems that it can split. It doesn't have all of the options that we have in Logic. And so hopefully they're going to just like next update, that stem splitter will be even better and even more usable. And those are the areas that a lot of this machine learning and Apple intelligence that I'm using, I don't feel like I need to have a Suno type engine inside Logic anytime soon, because I'm still making my own music. Let me see what some comments are saying here. What is Rosetta? Exactly. Let's see. Plastidon says, I just made sure my stuff was working and did put down a couple ideas to work on later. Cool. Keep it up. A MIDI player would be great. Tell me what you'd want in a MIDI player. Production 3215. Tell me what that means to you. Like, what is it about it that you're looking for? And then he also says, I found a decent one by MIDI Bro Lifesaver. I've tried Lala AI and Logic is better on some things. MIDI Preview. So, man, we need like a better, yeah. For being as full featured of a MIDI sequencer as Logic is, there are some things that tied in with the browser, tied in with any sort of MIDI editing, that could be improved upon. A lot of the MIDI in Logic, for all of its strength, is old school. They haven't really done a lot with the event editors. All of that stuff actually is pretty much gone inside the Logic Pro for iPad version. It's under the hood, it has to be, but they haven't built it in yet. So I'm curious on how that'll tie in. Yeah, so Musictron is talking about the browser. That is where the browser on the iPad version is already light years ahead of the Mac version. And if they just gave us that browser, then a lot of us would stop complaining. It's still not perfect, but I think it's pretty good. I mean, honestly, what I would love to see, and this is the tie-in to Apple Intelligence that I would actually like to see instead of putting ChatGPT in our notes in Logic. I would love to see Apple Intelligence be tied into the browser. So what that means is I get to speak like myself to the browser, and it interprets what I'm saying and finds what I'm looking for, and can play it in time, tune, everything with the project that's playing. I mean, think about that. If there are some browsers out there which have those type of features, but if you're going to give us, and let's look at the browser let's look at the Loops browser, I guess. I don't know what that's called anymore. Yeah, the Loop browser still. It's kind of an old name for something that is not exactly just a Loop browser. But this has 34,315 different items. And those are all, that's just the default. I don't have anything extra in there. That's just the Logic default setup. So 34,315 items, MIDI, audio, drummer. Here's all the different filters you can do. Pattern loops. Yeah, so all of those loops, right? I mean, how great would it be to have those integrated better with a system where I can actually search for them without, I mean, searching through 34,000 things is pretty insane. On top of that, our other library, which has all of our instruments and things in a separate place. So now we're in a separate place on the left side. To be able to find things in here with all of our sound pack, different things, our sound packs and our producer packs. It'd be nice to be able to sort through those in a better way. And if I clicked on one, instead of having to load it, that there's a preview mode of some sort and it plays according to the key signature or the chords or whatever, and just adds a part, it could be done. I mean, that's going to take maybe some time, right? But it could be done. And Apple Intelligence could be exactly the right tool to do it. But we need that kind of innovation to make this really useful. I mean, if they could make both of those things play so much nicer with our projects, we would use a lot more of it, and it would feel far more powerful than it does now, where right now, most people don't even use a fraction of either of these, the loops or the library, because they're so hard to use and find things. They just are. There's no question. Another thing, the MIDI Bro plugin works great. Just wish we had a native one. Yeah, I'll check it out. I'll check out MIDI Bro for sure. Something must be happening with the Pro Apps team. I mean, Final Cut is very, very behind. Logic feels kind of old too, and Apple still needs something for audio post-production. behind. Yes and no. The concept of behind with Final Cut, they've had some updates, which I think are really good. The Apple Intelligence with the keys that they're doing and the object tracing, which can actually do things behind other objects. And they're keeping up with the formats. But there are lots of areas that other places are innovating quicker. Man, this is the one downside to being owned by a company like Apple. And in fact, I don't know. So here's the thing. This is how I see it. Are big grocery stores better than small grocery stores? I don't know. Big grocery stores have traditionally made things cheaper because they can force people to sell them stuff at a cheaper rate because they overall will make more money because they're doing it at such a big scale. Sure. Do I miss sometimes going into the corner grocery store and people knowing my name and having that like personal relationship with them and seeing their kids grow up and go to college and stuff? Yeah, there's a trade-off. Apple's able to do things with logic that other companies can't do because Apple is Apple, and they can buy companies without even thinking twice. We've seen that over and over and over. Redmatica, Camel Audio. I mean, they've done it so many times. And logic users are the beneficiaries. But at the same time, innovation feels hard because it is such a slow moving process. I was again looking at all of the updates over the past like 10 years, and I thought, 10 years? 10 years is like a lifetime. Is my music any better now because of Logic being where it is in this moment? No. And the older I get, the less I'm able to be like creative and innovative. I mean, it's still happening, but it's like your brain, the wires, the connections inside your brain start to, become more firm. And so it's harder to have some of that creativity than maybe when I was young. But this isn't a piece of software that's even recognizing that process. It took all these years to get where it currently is, and then they give us 1 or 2 updates a year. And if there's a feature that you want that somebody else has, you should switch now because there's a chance you'll never get it in Logic, right? I mean, there's a legitimate chance. And so I stay in Logic because none of the other software speaks to me in the same way as Logic does. It never has. And here I am, right? I'm still using it. If I wait until they give me all the features I want to use it, it's going to be too late. It's like we only live like this finite period of time, right? I mean, they had Logic before Steve Jobs was gone, and Steve Jobs has been gone now for a while, and Tim Cook will be gone eventually. He's no spring chicken anymore. So if you look at Logic and think it has what I need right now to do what I want, then stop looking to the next thing and just start using it. That's the thing that I think is a misconception about all of this software. And that's why there will be people who want to use Suno more than Logic because to get into Logic and use it, the bar is a certain place. You have to be able to master it before you can do all the things you want in there. I was doing a stream this week about the resync from IK Multimedia, and I was doing a demo, and Logic did something. I was like, oh, I forgot, or I didn't forget, but I didn't see it coming. I had turned off Flex and Follow on one track, duplicated that track thinking it would leave Flex and Follow off, but it reactivated it for all the other tracks and it messed up the demo. And I didn't realize it till I was like halfway into the demo. And I was like saying things like, wow, resync is screwing up my tracks. And then I was like, oh, never mind, hold on. That is a Logic thing. but it's like one little item over on the side properties thing. If you don't even know what flex and follow is, which most users of Logic don't, then it's going to bite you because one time you're going to import something and not realize that it's changing the timing of the thing you imported, and it doesn't look like it should, it doesn't sound like it should. And you have to know exactly where that one thing is. Well, something like Suno doesn't work like that. Suno does all the work for you. And if you don't like what you get, you just say, here's 10 more credits. I want you to do that again. And this time do it like this. And maybe you'll get what you want and maybe you won't. But people, I mean, there was that country song that was, top of one of the streaming charts for Billboard. It was all 100% AI. I listened to it. It sounds just like AI, but of course I had to listen to it online. So I've added now to the song being number one. You can hear it. It doesn't sound right, and so we're not there yet. I don't know. I think the closer we get, the harder it is going to be to get that last little bit. But that's the same with using Logic Pro just as it is. If you learn just enough to use it, but not to master it, then your tracks are not going to sound like something that was like perfectly amazing either. Let me catch up on some comments. Yeah, so I'm back to with Alex, and he says, I saw the developer thing about video production for Apple TV and VR. They just mentioned DaVinci Resolve for both video and audio. I mean, DaVinci Resolve is pretty cool. They are a hungry team who are doing some innovative things. But DaVinci Resolve is not like a Logic killer. I sometimes wonder if Apple's going to buy DaVinci Resolve and just make it their new Final Cut. I don't know. That would be interesting to see what's on their mind. Mojo Cat, no more slow, bloated gimmicks. Reaper sample MIDI library is low size and super fast. It just needs to be fast and reliable and easy to navigate preview. A different pitch. They could buy Audio Finder. So as a Reaper owner, but an open Reaper hater, that's me. Because it's like a shtick. It's not real hate at all. I think Reaper does some things which I only dream about happening in Logic, but I know they're not going to do them, so I have to make fun of them just to pretend like I don't care. Don't tell people I said that. Reaper is super flexible. So I have a Zilia third order ambisonic microphone. Uses a single USB cable for 19 channels of audio. Goes in every direction. You can use it for incredible recordings. I recorded a string quartet this summer in Prague and just put it right kind of in the middle. And then later you can put different virtual microphones off of that thing in post and get exactly what you want. Logic can't do it. It can't handle 19 channel plugins, first of all. It's very traditional with, you can do quad and 5.1 and some of the spatial audio formats, but it can't do anything else. And so I had to use Reaper for the recording, the editing, the mixing, and the publishing, right? And that program, it has some strong benefits. That's the only thing I would ever use it for, though, because in terms of musical creation, Reaper has no idea how to be like a musical tool for a musician. Not in my opinion. It's like I can go in here, I've got the session players now, the piano, the session piano, the studio piano sounds incredible. There are other pianos out there which maybe sound even better, but they're more complicated. And the thing about Apple and Logic is that when they add something, there's an ease of use to it. That once you get past the initial learning curve, that it feels intuitive all the time. And I don't, maybe I've just never gotten there with Reaper, but I've tried with Reason and it's not possible. There's some ease of use problems with Reason that'll never be fixed, I don't think. Um, Cubase, I find really easy to use, just too expensive to keep up with. Um, Pro Tools tends to make things more complicated for musicians. Um, Ableton is like nothing like Logic Pro. And so you have to really just be willing to just give up everything else and use it and not go back and forth. Oh, we're talking. Plastodon says, didn't they hire a guy from Universal Audio some time ago? Yeah, and we haven't really seen what that led to. I've not seen anything that clearly led to, but we'll see if something happens from that or not. Vibes says, I really want them to add a really good dynamic EQ plugin, just like how they nailed it with Chroma Glow. Yes, exactly. Right. So there are a handful of technologies out there right now, which Logic doesn't have built in. You have to get third-party tools for. I have third-party tools. I have a couple of dynamic EQs. But here's the problem that I face, and this is one of those lifelong things that I've really fought against, and that is updates. Updates. So I like to stay on one of the later Macs, right? I got my MacBook Air M4. This computer I'm on here is a beast that'll last another couple years, I think. It's a M1 Ultra Mac Studio. Logic doesn't have a hard time at all. I've never maxed it out for any project size that I'm doing. I'm not doing huge scoring sessions, but it's got like the souped up RAM and everything. But I update to the new operating system the day that it comes out, partially because it's a YouTube thing that I'm showing people how it's working and what's working. And there's always a part of me that wants it all to crash and burn because it makes for better content. But it hasn't. It never seems to crash and burn. And I'm going to be on the latest version of Logic every moment that it comes out because, again, I want to use it and explore it and share. There's never going to be a moment when I say, I'm going to wait till the next version. That's my curse in life to live with. And so having somebody else's dynamic EQ be a reliable part of my workflow is really difficult. Because if they don't update it the minute I update it, then there's a chance I won't be able to use it on my projects because I'll have to wait until they update it to use it. So that, for me, I try to use as many of the internal effects and plugins as I can with Logic. I think they're great for the most part. The EQ that we have in Logic, the channel EQ, and the linear phase version of it, they both sound great. That we have the 3 vintage EQs, all which bring a different flavor to the equation if I really need something. We've got a great compressor. Now we have Chroma Glow, which in my opinion, for what it does, is one of the best that has ever been released. You can use it very nuanced. You can use it to the extreme. You can push it hard. You can push it light. It is a really, really good sounding plugin for what it does. It sounds great. Anybody can argue with me about that, but I'll win. It may not be your cup of tea. That's not what I'm talking about. But it's a really good plugin. Now, where I was going was, if they were to add some new plugins into Logic, apart from the session players, I feel like we should get an entire suite of musicians in the category of session players. I'd like them to make the strings work. I'd like them to have a guitar. Man, if I could have a session player guitar, that would revolutionize. That would be one thing that would maybe even change the style of my own music, because I don't play guitar very well, and I'm not recording guitar on my songs. I've used Suno to do some guitar work, which I think is a really promising avenue. But if I had a session player guitarist, that would fix it. Or I just need to have a better friend circle of guitar players who will just play whenever I send them something. Cool. Dynamic EQ is one, though, that they could add. That's low-hanging fruit. Just go buy a company that does it, or build one that does something new, and that would be amazing. So dynamic EQ is one of those things that they could really do better with. We could get better stereo spreader. We could get we could get oh, there was something on the tip of my tongue a second ago. So I said stereo spread, dynamic EQ, multi-band compression was one I was thinking. Our multi-band compressor in Logic is ancient. It works, but there are some things that I would change about it. In fact, we could get something where we could do a lot more like splitting of effects. So you have a channel, you can put split the sound like a multi-band system where you put a bunch of effects on one band and a bunch of effects on the other band. Everybody's doing it. Reason has something like that. Studio One has something like that. Ableton has stuff like that. Logic does not. Let's just hope that Pro Tools doesn't get it first, because how embarrassing if Pro Tools gets it first at this point. Ugh. Reaper probably has something like that too. I don't know. LA Winter says, I really hope they add unlimited track stack levels. I raised my hand for that one too. That's so stupid that it doesn't already, FYI. The fact that when they first came out, they were just one level and now they gave us a second level. There's zero reason why they shouldn't give us more of those. Although I don't know how I would use them, but I might use them. Vibe says, I use Pro Tools for production and it has improved its MIDI editor and has now attached MIDI editing operation window, which is really awesome. I agree. Pro Tools is getting better. Their new team over there has been willing to actually innovate and make it more comparable to other workstations. I teach Pro Tools at the university a regular basis. It's in all of our studios. And we're always like maybe one version behind, just because we can't update it in the middle of a semester. That always has to happen over the summer when no students are in the studios, so we can troubleshoot and get rid of all the bugs and things. But I mean, Pro Tools always was good. I mean, there's a reason why it was the standard one, but it's gotten better. It's gotten much better. And I suspect it's going to continue to get better. Oh, yeah. Dorash 8407 says, a better de-esser. Oh my gosh. The Logic de-esser is perhaps the worst plugin ever made. Dynamics. De-esser 2. It's a little bit better than de-esser 1, I promise. But it is not great. There's so much dumb about this thing that I can't even explain it. The de-esser that I use is not that one. It is, let's see, the Sonable Smart DS. Or is it Prime? This one actually analyzes the input and does a ton of the work for you. If you want a good de-esser, use the Sonable de-esser. That thing is intense. It's really cool. And I really like the people over at Sonable. I think that they're another company, besides making plugins that are too dark and not contrasty enough. That's the only thing wrong with Sonable. But otherwise, it's a great company doing some really cool things. And they're hungry because they're doing plugins and trying to make a company run off plugins. I mean, how scary is it to be a company that's running off of audio plugins instead of having an iPhone as your main product? And when you do your quarterly results call and you say, yeah, we made $1 billion off of just streaming content to people. Okay, you guys can keep Logic going. Yay. Let's see. Vibe says Logic Team can also add analog emulations in that dynamic EQ, just like the options in Chroma Go, but in EQ area. They have done a little bit of that. with the vintage EQ. So if we like pull open like the Neve emulation, we have the output models which are here. I mean, that is what those are to a certain degree, and then you can drive them harder or less. Um, what I really want is those to be at the same level as Chroma Glow. I don't think that they are, and in fact, uh, I consider like the Neve EQ, having used Neve EQs in IRL, um, as being some of the most forgiving, pleasant sounding EQ adjustments I've ever made, to using this to not being the most easy or pleasant I've ever used. So a little rework of that output circuit would be awesome. Somebody else says, hi, we need ARA support. You must have missed the early part of the stream where we ranted deeply about that, but yes, agreed. LA Winter says the unlimited track stack levels in Bitwork are so useful for mixing and organizing projects. That's the thing. And we used to have folders. Maybe, I don't think we have folders anymore. I think that they've actually pulled them all out. Folders had like unlimited, I thought. And so we could use folders in Logic to do a lot of that. But now the track stacks, yeah, like, some people want to work that way. I personally try to keep things still with buses to auxes and color code. And I wouldn't mind some more really nuanced organizational tools, but track stacks, I don't think I would use it that way, but I know some people really would. Dawn says, I hope they fix the grid. The way you can smooth copy audio files in Ableton or S1 is so solid. I really, really hope they will upgrade that. And of course, a better in-scale MIDI function. Yeah, cool. We have all got the things that we're looking for sure. And we'll see what we get from it. There's a chance, there's always a chance, that we'll see an update next week. I think today is already out of the picture. Or the first week of December. So Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday of next week, or the first week of December. And then we'll be talking about this same conversation, but it'll be, gee, I really wish they had fixed ARA, or holy crap, they fixed ARA. And then we'll say, why didn't they touch the chord track? I guess we'll wait another 6 months, and then we'll all be 6 months older, 6 months grayer in my case, 6 months closer to dying, and we still won't have the things that we want. Vibe says also Pro Tools is improving its UI, and it's kind of looking a combination of Logic and Ableton. We'll see. And so when I'm talking about what the schedule is, we're just talking about like a point upgrade. We're not talking about a big one at this point. We're hoping for like 4 to 5 new features, and we'll go from that. But a lot, 2026, if Apple pulls out what they're hoping to with its AI stuff and deeper integration of things, could be the biggest year for Logic we've had in a long time. Right now, we're just talking about a smaller upgrade in the meantime. And so my guess is it'll be functionality that makes sense for the iPad version and the Mac version, because the Mac version's days are limited, or it'll be effects or things that are module that'll fit into any new version of Logic. Okay, this is a good, I gotta go do some stuff, but thanks everybody for watching and for participating. What an awesome conversation. Hope you all have a good weekend and make some music, or go see some music, or choke on some music, but whatever you need to do to go use this software is the most important thing. And I'll catch you all next week.